Imagine a brand new country shooting about freedom and equality, but secretly keeping people as slaves. Now picture one enslaved woman. She could not read the important words that promised freedom, but she heard them, she understood their power, and she decided to challenge the country's false promises. In 1781, this was not just an idea, it was her life, and her bravery was about to start a fire that slavery in the northern parts of America could not survive. Welcome. Today we are talking about a woman you may not know, but whose actions were like a thunderclap in the quiet towns of Massachusetts. In the late 1700s, her name was Mumbet, and later she became Elizabeth Freeman. Her story is one of amazing courage. She was born into the cruel system of slavery around 1744. Just imagine that. 3 decades in the home of Colonel John Ashley and his wife Hannah in the Sheffield, Massachusetts, facing all the difficulties and disrespect that come with it. 30 years of her life, her work, her very existence legally belonged to someone else. We don't know much about her early years. She was probably born in New York and brought to the Ashley's house around 1746, maybe with her sister Lizzie. What we do know is that even though that she was trapped in slavery, Mumbet became known for her sharp mind, her strong honesty, and a very strong will. She could not read or write, which was a common and planned way to control enslaved people, but her natural wisdom and fierce determination were skills she developed. These skills would soon help her gain her own freedom. But then in Massachusetts, everyone was talking about rights, freedom, and unfair rulers. These were the ideas driving the American Revolution. The area had just approved its new constitution in 1780, and in the documents written by a very famous man named John Adams, there was a powerful line: all men are born free and equal, and have certain natural, essential, and right that cannot be taken away, among which are the right to enjoy and defend their lives and freedom, to get own and protect property, and finally to find and get their safety and happiness. All men are born free and equal. Mumbet heard these words and being discussed in homes, preached in churches, and argued about in public, and they stayed with her. She wondered, if everyone is born free and equal, then why was not she? Why was not her sister? Why were not the other enslaved people she knew? This question, burning inside an enslaved woman, was about to shake the very foundations of her world. So what makes someone do something so revolutionary? For Mumbet, it seemed it was a mix of her own strong spirit and a particularly horrible events. The story goes to the Colonel Ashley wives. Hannah, who was known for her bad temper, tried to hit Mumbet's sister Lizzie with a hot shovel from the kitchen. Mumbet jumped in the way, taking the hit on her own arm. She carried the scar from that burn for the rest of her life, a constant painful reminder for the cruelty she faced, and maybe a constant push toward freedom. But it was more than just a personal injury. It was the clear hypocrisy she saw every single day. The men who owned her, men like Colonel Ashley, were important people in their community, loudly demanding freedom from British rule. They talked about natural rights and freedom, while taking those very things away from the people they enslaved. Mumbet saw right through it. After hearing those grand words from the new Massachusetts Constitution, especially all men are born free and equal, she saw an opportunity, a weakness in the system that held her captive. She did not just think about these words. She acted. Mumbet went to find Theodore Sedgwick, a young ambitious lawyer in the nearby town who was known for her being against slavery. Can you imagine that journey? An enslaved woman with probably nothing, walking to the lawyer house, an important man, to ask for something that seemed impossible, to sue her master for her freedom. The sheer bravery, the courage of that act is just amazing. Sedgwick to hit credit listed maybe he saw the legal chance, an opportunity to test the new constitution. Maybe her strong belief moved him, or maybe it was both. Another enslaved man from the Ashley's household named Brom joined her in the lawsuit, and so the case became Brom and Bet versus Ashley, filed in the local court in the Great Barrington, Massachusetts in 1781. This was not just begging for kindness, it was a legal fight arguing that slavery itself did not fit with the main ideas of the new state constitution. Mumbet was not just asking for her freedom, she was basically accusing the state of Massachusetts of breaking its own most important law. The lawsuit was really bold and incredibly risky. Move Mumbet and Brom were just not challenging Colonel Ashley, a rich and powerful man. They were challenging whole economic and social system that was deeply established. Back then, even in the northern parts of America, most people either accepted slavery or did not really question it much. To stand against it, especially as an enslaved person, meant risking terrible punishment if the lawsuit failed. Theodore Sedgwick, along with Tapping Revie, another top lawyer who later started America's first law school, took the case. Their argument was wonderfully simple but completely revolutionary. The Massachusetts Constitution of 1780, by declaring all men are born free and equal, had basically made slavery illegal in the state. They argued this was not just flowery language, it was the law, and it applied to everyone, no matter their race or if they had been enslaved. On the other side, Colonel Ashley's lawyer probably argued, based on tradition, on how long slavery had been legal, and on property rights. The whole idea that enslaved people were property was basic to the system. If Mumbet and Brom won their freedom based on the constitution, it would have huge consequences, possibly destroying all of the slavery in Massachusetts. The trial itself in August 1781 must have been quite bright. Here you had two enslaved individuals with forward-thinking lawyers against one of the most powerful men in the area, arguing about what freedom really meant. In a brand new country, we don't have exact records of what Mumbet said in the court, but her presence, her story, and her strong belief surely made an impact. She had lived in injustice. She was the unfulfilled promise of the Constitution standing right there. The jury, made up of local men, listed to all the arguments they heard about natural rights, about the words written into their new constitution. They also know their decision could cause major social change. The tension in the courtroom must have been very high. It was not just Mumbet and Brom's freedom on the line. It was a massive decision about what Massachusetts truly stood for. Would it live up to its own high ideals, or would it let the hypocrisy of slavery continue? The courage of the people like Elizabeth Freeman, who stepped up to the challenge unfairness, really cleared the way for the changes that followed. If you are finding this story as powerful as I do, please think about subscribing and hitting the notification bell. We exploring amazing stories like this every week, bringing light to forgotten figures and key moments that shaped our world. Your support helps us keep sharing these important stories. And the moment of truth arrived, the jury in the Great Barrington gave their decisions. They ruled in favor of Mumbet and Brom. The court declared them free and unbelievably gave them 30 shillings in the damage, a small amount of money as compensation. Colonel Ashley had to pay the court cost. It was an absolutely amazing victory. Slavery, the court confirmed, did not fit with the Massachusetts Constitution of 1780. Imagine the rush of feelings Mumbet must have had. Relief for sure, a sense of being proven right, but more than that, the overwhelming realization that she was, for the first time in her adult life, legally a free woman. The world she had held onto turned out to be more than just ink on paper. She had power, they had set her free. Colonel Ashley initially tried to challenge the decisions, but he later dropped it, probably saying that the legal situation was changing. This case, Brom and Bet versus Ashley, became a landmark. It was not the very first time someone sued for freedom, but its success, based directly on the new state constitution, sent ripples across Massachusetts. It set a clear, strong legal example. Just 2 years later, in 1783, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court heard the Quick Walker case, another enslaved man suing for his freedom. The head judge, William Cushing, when giving instructions to the jury for that case, directly said that the 1780 Constitution had effectively ended slavery, pointing to that free and equal clause, while Brom and Bet versus Ashley was a local court decision. Walker case, especially Cushing instructions, confirmed these people at the highest state level. Together, this case were like the final blow to slavery in Massachusetts. Even though there was not one single law passed to free everyone, this court decision made it absolutely clear slavery had no legal basis in the state. Mumbet courage had not just won her own freedom, had helped open the door for thousands of other enslaved people in Massachusetts to be free. She had quite literally called the bluff of the state that she preached liberty while practicing enslavement. And she had won. Oh, she was free. Elizabeth Freeman's lawsuit did not just put a crack in the system of slavery in Massachusetts. It hammered a huge nail into its coffin long before the federal government took action and decided before the American Civil War. Her victory in court helping to grow the movement to abolish slavery in the North and showing the power of one person's courage against the widespread injustice. Her story is an incredibly important part of American history, a testament to the long line of black women freedom fighters who have always been at the forefront of movement for social justice. For the time of slavery, through the period after the Civil War, through segregation law, the civil rights movement, and right up today, their strength and determination have pushed America, often unwillingly, closer to promise of liberty and justice for all. Elizabeth Freeman did not just win a court case. She stood up for a basic human truth. She challenged America's false promises, and by doing that, she helped change what freedom could actually mean in the young nation. What do you think about Elizabeth Freeman's incredible story? Let us know in the comments below, and if you want to discover more forgotten heroes and important moments that challenge the way as we see history, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration.